Good evening to all the viewers. सबको मेरी शुभ संध्या. My dear students as well as all the viewers. Today we will be talking about intelligence and its theories. The first thing which I want to make you people to understand is that normally in the schools also we do talk about when we have some students who are academically very high, when they score very good, we say that that student is very intelligent. On the other hand, if some of the student does not get able to score high, we say that that student is not intelligent. So in the schooling also the concept of intelligence is very popular. Basically, what is an intelligence? Intelligence is an ability to acquire and apply the knowledge. That how we get the information, how we acquire the information, and how we put it into action in terms of our cognitive ability, that is an intelligence. Even success in college, just as well as in school also, in our own profession also, whatever the success, wherever we are working, it all revolve around the concept of intelligence. Now the word intelligence, if we see to it, it has been studied widely by different philosophers and the thinkers. This term has been derived from the Latin verb that is intelligere, which means understanding, that means to comprehend. A number of psychologists, they have defined the concept of intelligence in a very different manner. First of all, it was defined by Alfred Binet. It was in 1905. He had stated that intelligence is the ability for judgment or common sense. While explaining this definition, it talks about that that intelligence is the potential of an individual, that how a person makes a judgment, how a person gets able to discriminate between right and wrong, how he turns out to be judgmental in his behavior is a intelligence. Further, the prominent definition of intelligence, if we categorize, that comes of a Thorndike in 1920. He defined intelligence as one's capacity to deal effectively with the situations. Here he talked about that while moving in the daily life, a person comes across different situations and how he gets able to deal effectively in relation to those situations. How does he manage those situations? What type of judicially or whatever judicious decision does he make in order to deal with those situations is the intelligence. Then the most prominent definition of intelligence, if we talk about, that is of an Wetzler. Even at the UG level and the master's level also, when we talk about intelligence, we normally say that students, you must understand the concept of intelligence, what is defined by David Wetzler in 1977. That is, talks about an aggregate capacity of an individual to think rationally, act purposefully, and to deal effectively in relation to the environment. What it means is that it talks about your mental faculty in holistic way, in a conglomeration where individual first he thinks in a very logical manner, and on the basis of that logic a person acts purposefully with a certain objective in his mind, and he gets able to deal with the environment in relation to that environment, especially the outer environment, in a very efficient manner, in a very effective manner. It means that intelligent person would be the one who is able to have a proper reasoning, proper planning, proper solving ability, as well as to think not only in the concrete terms but also in the abstract terms, as well as to understand the complex relationship between the various ideas which is coming into his mind, and to learn quickly and to make a proper decision making. Now overall, on the basis of these definitions, what are the characteristics of intelligence? That comes is that intelligence is an innate natural endowment of the child. A child does have that kind of ability from his genes, that is a genetic makeup. Then it also helps a child in maximizing his learning ability in a minimum period of time. It means that the child is able, and intelligence refers to that a child is able to grasp something maximally in a partially lesser time period. Then it also enables a child to discriminate between right and wrong. As I just stated to you that it talks about the ability in which the child is able, or a person is able to make a judgmental aspect that what is right and what is wrong. Then comes the developmental period of intelligence is from birth to adolescence. It varies, it has this particular time period, and on the basis of the intelligence we are able to predict the future, our goals in a very meticulous and in a very systematic manner. Then further, the child is able to take advantage of his previous experiences. That an intelligent person would be the one who would be getting a learning from his previous experiences. For example, if he has met a failure in his past, it would be learning experiences. Instead of cribbing upon the failure, he would be taking some smaller important takeaways from that failure, and he would be putting it into action in the current times and would be able to make further judgmental decision. Then the child faces a future with compliance. When an intelligent person always foresees a future with the help, with the ability to have the compliance, to have the coordination also. As far as the gender differences are concerned, it has been found that there are certain gender differences in terms of the intelligence, but if we see in the current scenario, the research evidence also says that there are not much of the gender differences which can be authenticated in terms of the differences in intelligence. Then it is a product of the heredity as well as environment. No doubt about it. It is not only an endowment of child through the genetic makeup, but the kind of environment where the child has been reared up, that is also the reflection of his intelligence. So intelligence is a function of heredity as well as environment. Overall, intelligence is what? We learn from the experience, we acquire, we retain, and we use that knowledge in that ability of intelligence. Then when we have learned from the experience, we try to recognize the problem. Now we put the knowledge into action, we are able to find out, we are able to identify the problems and then the further solutions of that problem, and then how the problems which are prevailing in the environment, how those issues need to be addressed. That is also an important aspect. Then once we have acquired, once we have recognized, then comes the solution of the problems, because in intelligence, an intelligent person would be able to solve the problem, only then he would be labeled as an intelligent person. So people must then be able to take what they have learned to come up with a useful solution, because until unless we don't find the useful solution of any query or any problem, we will not be coming up to the goal achievement. So for any problem, an intelligent person would be able to have a useful and very creative solution. Now when we talk about in totality about the intelligence, it deals with your memory aspect, it deals about how speedily you are processing the information, what type of creativity and innovation we do have, how do we focus, that is very important, that we need to have focused attention. Then we need to have an attention, that span of attention has to be good. And then another point which is very important in the intelligence, we have to be flexible. Flexible means that we have to avoid the rigidity. If we would be sticking up to only to one ideology, our intelligence would never be able to get flourished. So flexibility is very important. Then comes theories of intelligence. Now see, every concept has been devised and it turns out to be in a full form only on the basis of certain theories. So the first theory which was given of intelligence was the unifactor theory, that was given by Alfred Binet. Then comes the dual factor theory which was given by Spearman, and third theory is a multi-factor theory which was given by Thorndike. Then after that there was a further development of the theories, that was a group factor theory which was given by Thurston. Then there was a triarchic theory that was given by Sternberg, and we have a multiple intelligence theory by Gardner, which turned out to be a highly prominent theory. Although all these theories turned out to be very popular, but with the passage of time, with the more and more development, theories came into the existence. The first thing, you can see the peck of Alfred Binet. He was the one who had coined the term IQ, that is an intelligence quotient, and he had talked about our chronological age and the mental age. Alfred Binet, he developed the first intelligence test. He gave the concept I told you of mental age, and unifactor theory of intelligence focuses that we all have a common sense or a general factor of intelligence to apply in every task. My dear students or my dear viewers, what I want to say is that all we people who are viewing this lecture virtually, we all have a general factor of intelligence. We all people have some sort of basic intelligence which helps us to understand a simple task, which helps us to do our day-to-day activities. So Alfred Binet had talked about the intelligence quotient, in which he had talked about the mental age and the chronological age. Then what happened, that when the monofactor theory was in vogue, people were only attributing that there is only one factor of intelligence which plays a vital role in the intelligence. But Spearman was the one who had stated that no, central factor G, which is a general intelligence, it does exist, but he stated that along with the single G factor, there are certain other abilities also which are present in the individual, and he stated these are some specific abilities which refers to some specific task. For example, I am being a professor of psychology, being a teacher of psychology. It is not necessary that I would be confining my knowledge only in the area of psychology. This is my specific ability. But as at the very same time, I am having the ability for the logical reasoning also, and for some other tasks also, maybe a musical aptitude. So this they talk about that a person is having a general intelligence. Along with that, a person does have the abilities where he talks about the specific task also. Now you can see Spearman, he was the one as in the dual factor theory. Now see from this pictorial presentation, you can find that G factor is in between, in the center. General ability is found in everybody, in you, me, as well as the Spearman also. But along with that, we have a certain specific abilities. Like we do have a numerical ability, we do have a spatial ability, we do have a verbal ability, as well as we do have a mechanical ability. So what this theory wants to state that in the intelligence, when we talk about the intelligence, a person does have a general factor that is confined, that is almost that is a generalized factor. So the ability to deal with the day-to-day problem is a general factor, but how effectively, how smartly, how meticulously, how prudently we are able to handle with the problem, maybe by the numerical aspect, or maybe by the mechanical aspect, or maybe by the verbal aspect, that is all determined by the specific ability a person is having. So the intelligence is a good combination of the general factor as well as the S factor, that is a specific factor, as per the dual factor theory. Now this was the theory which is stated that our intelligence is not only confined to the general ability or the general as well as the specific ability. Rather, there are so many factors of the intelligence which need to be pondered over if we want to study the concept of intelligence. Thorndike was basically an associationist, and he propounded the multi-factor theory of intelligence, and he identified 3 types of intelligence. He stated that first is an abstract intelligence, the ability to verbal and symbolic thinking. What I want to say, for example, if we talk about that honesty is the best policy. So honesty, we cannot see it. It is not a concrete concept. But abstract intelligence, a person who is having the abstract ability, abstract intelligence, he will be able to understand the verbal cues and putting it into some symbolic form so that he can comprehend the meaning in a better manner. And second is the mechanical intelligence. It is the ability to effectively control your body and manipulate the objects. Now, for example, I believe that some information I have got it, right? Some stimulus in the environment is there. How do I coordinate? What type of my bodily action does take place, and how do I get able to manipulate those objects? That is the crux of mechanical intelligence. Then comes a very important concept, social intelligence. The ability to communicate with the people, understand and perform in social relations. My dear viewers, we all know that we all people are social animals. We cannot live in isolation. So social intelligence, how our potential, our ability to communicate with the people, whether we are able to communicate the people in effective manner or not, whether we are able to send our message to the people or not, then how do we understand whether they are understanding our message or not, again, and how do we perform in social relations? Are we having a complementary transactions with those people, or we are having a non-complementary transaction with those people, or we are having the ulterior transactions? What I want to say that whether we are having a very soft type of interaction with those people, or if we are having a very rugged kind of interaction with that people, that is also very important in the concept of intelligence. And then after that, Thurston was the one who in 1938 he had challenged the concept of a G factor, although the concept of G factor was criticized by Spearman also, because in In opposition to the G factor theory, Spearman had given a dual factor theory, and then this Thorndike had also talked about that theory. Thurston was the one who had taken a data, who took the data from 46 different tests of mental abilities, and he identified the number of primary mental abilities that compromise with the G factor, and that comprises the total construct of intelligence. In this primary mental abilities, he identified 7 primary mental abilities, that is a verbal comprehension, verbal fluency, number facility, spatial visualization, perceptual speed, memory, and inductive reasoning, and this was in, by Thurston 2003. Now, taking the explanation of all these abilities, word fluency. Word fluency refers to the ability to use the words quickly, how quickly we are able to grasp the information and how fluently we are able to take those tasks such as rhyming, solving anagrams, and doing the crossword puzzles. That shows our ability of the word fluency. Then comes verbal comprehension. The nomenclature itself clearly that how tactfully, how effectively we are able to understand the meaning of the verbal cues, means the meaning of words, concepts, and ideas. Then comes numerical ability, that is ability to use numbers to quickly to compute the answers to the problems, that how quickly we are using our numerical potential to solve the problem. Then comes spatial visualization, that is our potential to visualize and manipulate the patterns and forms in space. If we want to visualize that how much of the spatial relationship we want to maintain, first is that visualization, and then putting how much of the spatial relationship does take place between these objects or these images, that is a spatial visualization. Then perceptual speed, it is an ability to grasp perceptual details quickly, that for example, I have seen some stimulus in the environment, how quickly I am able to perceive it and how accurately I am perceiving it, and how I am managing to identify the similarities and differences between the stimuli. That shows my perceptual speed. Even in the newspaper also, we do have some puzzles where we need to find out the differences between the two identical pictures. So that really shows that how much of the perceptual speed ability a person is having in a certain time limit. Then we do talk about the memory. Another mental ability is a memory. It is an ability to recall information such as lists of the words, mathematical formula, and definitions. How quickly we are able to learn it and how quickly we are able to recall the informations. Like in the memory, we go for the different tests where we show the list to the subject of the nonsense syllabus, or even for the CBC, then we ask the students that how quickly and how much of the information can be recalled by a student at that time. That shows our memory ability. Then comes the inductive reasoning. That is an ability to derive general rules and principles from presented information. Whatever the information is with us, whatever the information is available with us, how much of the general rules and principles are we able to derive or extract from that part of the material which has been given to us. That shows the inductive reasoning. Then following the work of the Thurston, there was an American psychologist, Howard Gardner. He built up the idea that earlier there was a monofactor theory, there was a dual factor theory, there was a multi-factor theory. No doubt we do have factors of the theories, and we do recognize the hard work which has been done by the previous psychologists. But Gardner had stated that we have multiple forms of intelligence, and he stated that there is no single intelligence. If we talk about the intelligence, it is not a single entity, rather it is an entity which is encompassing number of features, and he proposed that there is no single intelligence, rather it is distinct, independent, multiple intelligence that exist, right? So it means that instead of focusing upon it as a single entity, rather it is distinct, it is different, it involves the independent multiple intelligence. So whatever the mental abilities we are having, they are very different from each other, but as well as they have having the independent status also, and each ability and each type of intelligence is representing a very unique skills of its own, means they are unique in their own, they have their own talents. Similarly, every person having different type of skills to handle the problem, every person, since because the reason behind that is we all people have the individual differences, and so because of the individual differences, one person getting one material would be able to for example, there are some students who have been given the assignments. So one student on the basis of his unique skill would be presenting in a very simple manner, but on the other hand there is another student who would be presenting the same kind of material in a very different manner, in a very creative manner. On the other hand, there is another student who would be presenting it in a very adorned manner, means beautifully adorned in an artistic manner. Some student might be presenting in a very aesthetic manner. So every person does have a unique skill and talents which represents a certain category. So taking that perspective into mind, Gardner had talked about that it is not a single entity, rather it involves a multiple intelligence. Gardner first proposed this concept of multiple intelligence in 1983, and then he started working upon it, and in 1987 he proposed 7 multiple intelligence, that is linguistic, logical, then mathematical, spatial, bodily kinesthetic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal and naturalist. So all these 7 multiple intelligence abilities were identified by the Gardner as a result of the brainstorming which he had done by going through the earlier theories, and he found that there has to be certain abilities which are not only related to the one aspect but related to different combinations of different abilities. First, Gardner notes that linguistic and logical mathematical modalities are most valued in the school and society. As I told you, when we talk about the concept of intelligence, first we start from the school. How much of the academic achievement has been done of the student in the school is given maximum weightage. So Gardner also find that out of these 7 primary intelligence abilities which are being kept under the umbrella term of multiple intelligence, it talks about, he stated that linguistic and logical mathematical modalities are the one which are highly valued in the scholastic score of the student. Even if we go for the society also, even society also recognizes that how much has been the what type of a linguistic ability, language ability the student does have, how that logical reasoning the student is able to have in relation to the mathematical relations and logical reasoning in relation to the solving the mathematical problems, that is also valued by the people around us. So in that way Gardner had talked about these 7 aspects of multiple intelligence. So dear viewers, after that we will be discussing about those 7 multiple intelligence.